Hey, it's Dr. Steve. If you found this video, my guess is that you are looking for some do-it-yourself plans for a rod vault. Why would you want to build a rod vault on your own? Probably the same reasons I do. I don't want to spend 500 bucks on a rod vault. And the other thing is most rod vaults don't actually fit my fishing needs. If you have a large fly rod, say a 10 weight with a large arbor reel, a lot of these rod vaults aren't going to work for you. Also, if you have a spay or switch rod and you need a little more length off the back end of your rod vault, modern rod vaults don't work for you either. Or God forbid, you use a spinning rod like I do on occasion, you want that little extra length for handles in the back. So I have a plan for you today that is affordable, it's solid, and it's simple. So what we'll do is we will walk through the pieces that you need to buy. My setup will cost me about 115 bucks. You can even do it for a little less. I'll talk about some ways you can save a little cost. I'm going to add two niceties though that are going to bring the cost up to about 130 bucks. I think it's worth it, but you may not want to go that expensive. Completely up to you. It's a very adaptable rig. You can tailor make this to your own fishing needs, and it's simple. So what we'll do, we will go through the pieces. I'll tell you how much I spent on them. I'll tell you where I got them. We'll look at how to assemble it, and we'll talk about some ways that you can modify it and maybe save a few bucks on your own. So let's get started. Okay, so here are the various pieces that you will need in order to make your own rod vault. First thing is a piece you won't need. I think you've probably seen other do-it-yourself rigs that use 2-inch PVC. Problem with 2-inch PVC is it bends like a dude that needs his Viagra, and it's going to droop over time. It's just not a good look. So we are not going to use 2-inch PVC. Instead, we are going to use 4-inch PVC. It's more rigid. It allows a bigger opening for some of the rods that I use, such as the 10 weight fly rod that has really big stripping guides. Those will never fit in a 2-inch PVC, and it probably won't fit in a 3-inch PVC either. So I'm going with 4-inch 10-foot PVC. So what we have here is we're going to go from left to right, and I'm going to show you the various pieces. So what we have here on the left is something I purchased on eBay. It's a conduit carrier. This is what various plumbers, electricians use to carry stuff around on the side of their vans and trucks. So you can buy this kit. The nice thing about this is it has a little locking mechanism here. It's got a really solid latch here, and it opens up very nicely. So this kit was the most expensive part, $57.50. I bought it on eBay. The nice thing though is that it comes with a mounting bracket, so you can put it on top of your truck. It does come with an end cap, but we don't need that end cap. That's a 6-inch end cap. We're going to need a 4-inch end cap. So, but here's the little locking mechanism. It's a really nice setup. Here, I'll show you the box right here. AA Products Conduit Carrier Kit, model number CCK600. So this is what I'm using. So this is going to go onto the back end of our rod vault. The next piece is a 1 foot by 6-inch Schedule 40 PVC. You can buy these from just about any plumbing and landscape supply stores, about $2.50. They will cut it for you. If you want a little longer piece, maybe you've got rods that have really long handles, you might want to go with a 2-foot section. It'll cost you an extra $2.50, but either way, cut it to the length that you want. This next piece here, this is the key to the whole setup. It's a 6-inch to 4-inch PVC Schedule 40 eccentric reducer. I got this at supplyhouse.com for $22.59. The nice thing is the shape. A lot of reducers give you sort of a bullseye pattern where the 4-inch will be centered in the middle. This is nice because it allows the reels to drop down. Again, pretty easy to find on the internet, and $22.29. The main vein here is the 4-inch by 10-foot Schedule 40 Cellcore PVC. I get this at Lowe's for 15 bucks. It's rigid. It's the right length for me. If you've got rods that are longer, if you have a 13-foot salmon rod, what you can do is place a coupler. Couplers are about $4 or $5 on this end, and then add another PVC to the end to get it the length that you want. You then need a 4-inch end cap. I get this at Lowe's for $4.59. You have to be really careful. You have to make sure that the inside diameter is 4 inches and that the outside is somewhere around 4.5. If you are finding an end cap that's about $2, my guess is that the outer diameter of that is 4 inches. You got to be really careful. Make sure you measure those while you're in the store. If you want to paint it, and this is an option, but if you do want to paint, you need a sanding block, 80 grit for $2.99. You then need spray paint that's designed for plastic. Again, this is optional, but I'm going to paint it to match my truck as best I can. This is in blue, $4.98. Sanding by hand is a pain in the ass. If you want to speed up your job, use a power sander. I sanded all these pieces already. It took me about 25 minutes. You want to do a good thorough job so that the paint adheres well. Whether you use the electric sander or a hand sander, make sure you use a face mask. The dust from PVC sanding is really nasty. And then finally, you're going to need something to glue this all together. So you can get pipe glue and primer for PVC at Ace. It's the Ote model. The primer is in purple. The glue is usually in a gold color. And this is what you want. So here are our pieces. So you need the setup for the end. I like it locking. The PVC, the extenders, the eccentric reducer, the end cap, and then if you want to paint it, you will need some extra equipment as well. Finally, I want to line the inside of my PVC with something soft. I'm pretty, I baby my fishing rigs, so I found this Eco rug at Lowe's for 21 bucks. And it's really soft, and I'm going to line the inside of the PVC with it, just so that my rigs have a nice, comfortable ride. So here's the total cost. Unpainted, no carpet, you're looking at about 112 bucks. Painted with no carpet, about 117. And then when you add in the cost of the rug, mine comes out to a little shy of 140. To me, that's a whole lot better than spending 500 bucks for a rig or for a rod vault. That's not going to really do the job for me. So let's look at how to assemble this next. Okay, so let's start assembling this thing. So the things we need first, we're going to need our reducer. You should have a damp rag and your 6-inch piece of short PVC. So what we're going to do is we're going to attach the PVC to the reducer. Now the thing you want to do before you start gluing is to rough up any surfaces that are going to come in contact. So just give this a really quick little sand in here, get it good and rough so that the glue and the primer have something to adhere to. And then you'll want to sand the outside of this as well, which I've already done. And then wipe out the inside with a damp rag, get all that loose material out of there. And then what you're going to want to do is take your primer, your purple material, open it up. There's a neat little swab on the end of it, and you just want to coat the inside where these two pieces are going to come in contact with one another. So basically you just paint the inside of this, and I'll show you what this looks like now. I only have part of it done, but there you go. So paint that completely through, and then paint maybe an inch or so on the PVC as well. So we'll do that, we'll let it dry, and then we'll talk about gluing it in a second. Okay, if you're going to line the inside of your 4-inch diameter PVC with something soft, now's the time to do it before you glue this all together. It's much easier to undo a mistake now than when everything's glued. So what you want to do is you want to cut your carpet or whatever soft material you're going to put in there to the right dimension. Now you could guess, you could sort of eyeball it, but come on, use some math that you learned back when you were a kid. So the inside diameter of that PVC is 4 inches. This is going to be inside the 4-inch diameter, and my carpet is pretty thin, so I'm going to estimate my inside diameter of my carpet's going to be 3.8 inches. 3.8 inch diameter times pi, 3.14, gives us our circumference of 1 foot. It's nice. Now if you have a little thicker foam, you might have to go and estimate a 3.6, 3.5 inside diameter, but mine was pretty simple. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut my pieces to fit in there, roll them up tight, shove them in, let them expand, and they should fit perfect. Okay, so you should have the inside of your eccentric reducer primed. You can see the purple. Prime the first inch or two of this outer piece of 6-inch PVC, and now we just want to glue this together. So what you're going to need for this is a rag so you can put your lower piece of PVC on. A rubber mallet helps a lot because this is a pretty tight fit for me. If yours isn't tight, then don't worry about it, but I'm going to have to do some tapping. And then we need our cement. So the first thing to do is simply put a thin coat of cement on the inside of the eccentric reducer. Okay, my lid was stuck, so I had to break away for a little bit. But once you get your lid unstuck, you'll again see that the cement is on a little swab. So just coat the inside over the top of your primer with your cement. Get a good but thin coat on it. If any happens to spill or dribble, now's the time to wipe it down, which I did do. So let me just use my rag here for a sec. Wipe out the inside of that. And then we are ready to tap this baby down. So let's get this here, this here. We want a good snug fit. Pretty good. Okay, we have our 6-inch PVC glued to our reducer, and now we're just going to continue on with the gluing process. We're going to lightly sand the inside of this, and just a note, if you are going to paint this later, make sure you sand everything before you glue anything. It's so much easier to sand it now rather than once you have these little joints and stuff to worry about. So do your sanding, then do your gluing. So sand the inside of the notch on the eccentric reducer, apply some primer about 1 inch up on the PVC, let it all dry, coat it with your glue, slap those babies together, and let them have a good dry. And then you'll continue on with the end cap as well. And then we are pretty close to being finished with that. Pretty simple, hey? Okay, I've primed everything. It's all ready for the glue, but I wanted to show you this before I moved on. I decided to cut a little piece of carpet, same size as the inside diameter of my end cap, and glue it in the end, in case I throw in, say, loose spinning rods or even fly rods or whatever. And if they slide forward, at least they're going to have a nice cush if they butt up against the end. Again, give the rigs a good ride, you know? So it took me all of maybe 10 seconds to cut that and glue it in. I think it'll be a nice little touch to it. I would always glue it in. I wouldn't rely on it just sort of holding its form, because if it does flop out, it's going to be 10 feet down your PVC. You're never going to be able to get that baby out. So take a minute, glue it down. Okay, so here we are. I think it's starting to look like a rod vault. Here's the business end where you will insert the rods. Eventually we're going to put our locking end cap over the end here. We then have our nice long piece of PVC where we have it coated on the inside with some carpet, and then our end cap. Everything's glued up. It's ready to be painted. I'm guessing at this point it weighs about 20 pounds, so it might be a little more than traditional rod vaults, but it's not going to break the back end of your truck or snap the rack off your car. So there we go. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to paint this. I actually bought 2 cans of paint. I don't know how this painting thing is going to work, honestly, and my guess is in the weather, over time, it's going to get chipped up. But I bought an extra can of paint so I can do some touch-up if I don't like how the finish is holding over time. So we're going to paint it. We're going to let it dry. When I see you again, I should have this completely painted in a color that's somewhat close to my truck. I couldn't find something to match perfectly. And then we'll do the final 2 pieces of puzzle here. We will put the locking end cap on, and then we will mount it to the truck. And this has been pretty simple so far, I have to admit. So I hope you like the plan so far. If you have any suggestions, just leave them in the comments. Okay, so I finished painting today. I kind of went crazy on it and laid it on really thick, so I ended up using more than a can, but I am really happy with how this turned out. I thought it looked pretty sweet, just as white sanded PVC, and you could certainly go that way, but I am really digging how this is looking. In fact, so much so that I think I'm going to cover it tomorrow with a layer of urethane. So tomorrow we will finish this up. Okay, we're on our second to last step. I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. Now we're going to install the end cap, the locking end. So there's actually some thought you need to put into this. So typically you're going to mount this with the fat part either down like this or up like this. So when you think about the door, you don't want the door to ever be so that it's opening upwards, because it's just going to fall back down and it's going to break your rods. What was the reason that you got a rod vault for? To protect your rods. So what you're going to want to do is install this so that it opens side to side. Now, I don't know for sure if this is going to warp at all over time, and it might. And if it does, let's say you mount it like this at first, if it starts to warp, well, maybe you just turn it back over, and then even the warping out over time. So again, I still think it's best, put this on the side. Now, if you have other things on your truck, you might want to be really specific about the side, and you're really going to want to think about how to mount this part. If you want your reels hanging down, if you want them to lie flat along the bottom, give it some thought. It really depends on the kind of fishing you're doing and what kind of rods, reels you're going to stick in this thing. For me, it's not going to matter so much. I can do it either way, and I probably will flip it over from time to time depending on my needs. So what we're going to do, we're going to mount this so that the door is sideways. What else you're going to want to do is, this doesn't actually fit super snug on here. There's a little play, so that means that water is going to be able to get in here. So you're going to want to put a bead of silicone on the inside where the PVC is going to butt up against the metal. So what we'll do is we will tap our screws in, unscrew them, put the silicone in, and then lock it down really well. So I'll show you when I'm done with this. Okay, so this baby is all lined up, screwed in, sealed, looks great, really happy with it. One more thing that you might want to think about. So this is going to be your reel and rod end handle area, and as you put your rod up, you know, there's obviously some extra play over here. You're probably going to want some sort of foam padding or rags or whatever, and it really depends on what you're going to stick in here. So I'm not going to deal with that today, and you can figure it out on your own, but you're probably going to want to just jam some foam in there, some rags in there, something to support the reels, and it depends on how you're going to mount this as well. So it's completely up to you. One thing I did is I cut a piece of my Eco carpet to fit in here, and I'm just going to slide that in now and at least give this part of the rod vault a really nice interior. So I'll do that, and then the final stage is I need to go put it on my truck. Okay, there's my completed project. I don't know how well you can see this, but that's probably halfway decent there. You can see the carpet inside, And then you'll probably want to pad all of this on the inside. Again, you can use rags or whatever. And now, final step, we're going to go put it on this Toyota. So what I'm going to do is I've sort of pre-hung my brackets on my cross rack up there. And what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to get some colored duct tape. I found some blue duct tape, and I'm just going to duct tape wherever those brackets are going to come in contact with the PVC, because it's just going to eat this paint away, and I just spent all this time painting this thing. So I'm going to wrap the contact points with duct tape before I stick it up there. So next part is the installation, and I'll show you when I'm done. The installation's really simple. Okay, here is the finished and mounted rod vault. I think it looks pretty nice. Let me walk you through the mounting. So I had to modify my system just a little bit. Remember, I bought a package that included this 6-inch locking door along with a couple of, there we go, 6-inch mounting brackets. But for my rack, the 6-inch mounting brackets just didn't fit quite right. So I went and ordered instead some 4-inch ones. So I had to add $10 to the price. So let me show that to you. I got it from Jack Olsta Company, www.olstaco.com. 4 of these, they're U-bolts, 4.5-inch for 4-inch pipe. I had to do 4 of them. So let's take a look at this. So here's the door. Like I said before, you want to mount this so that the door goes side to side. So there we go. And there is the inside. Really nice, I think. You want it opening to the sides so that it doesn't slam down on your rods if you happen to let go of it. So I did put some blue duct tape where the mounting brackets are going to be, just so that it doesn't scrape the paint job. You don't have to do that, but I did. And there it is. You can see it is not drooping at all. Kind of matches, not a perfect match, but close enough. I will say the painting was the biggest pain in the ass out of all of this. I'm looking at it now and thinking white would have been just fine and a whole lot easier, but if you really want the color, you can certainly do it. I was thinking of another advantage of this rod vault the other day is that, you know what, it doesn't look like a rod vault. It looks like a conduit holder, which is what a lot of guys are driving around with. In terms of keeping your rod secure and having somebody not want to steal them, maybe it's best that it doesn't look like a fishing rod vault. I don't think people are going to make the effort to go in and steal $15 worth of conduit. If there's a $1,000 fly rod in there, that might be another thing, but it doesn't really scream that this is a fishing rod carrier. And I'm not going to load it up with fishing rod stickers either. I'm just going to leave it like this. So there it is, around 120 bucks total. Again, you could probably save a little money if you want, but I am really happy with this, and I hope you are too. If you have comments, leave them. If you have ideas for suggestions or suggestions for improvements, let me know that as well, and we can keep building the idea as we go forward. If you like this, I hope it works for you.